Hi, guys! Welcome to SJ Masterclass, a podcast where two friends and avid readers are working to build an encyclopedia of the universe written by Sarah J Maas. One series at a time, cross-referencing as we go through the texts. This week, we're starting with chapters 1 through 5 of A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm Kat, one of your hosts. I'm an ER nurse by day and a cat mom, reader, and knitter the rest of the time.
Hi guys, I'm Rev. I'm the other host. I also am an ER nurse, also a lifelong reader, also a knitter, a dog mom the rest of the time. We are going to start out the podcast each week reading through a chapter summary just so we can catch up with where our characters are in the story. And everything is going to be very spoiler heavy. So this is one of your warnings. We'll give another one. It's my third read through. It's Kat's fourth read through. So we're not coming from just like a first read place. So that's why it's going to be spoiler heavy. We are cross-referencing everything to other universes, other books, other worlds, other characters. And so we just want to put that out there. Kat, your turn. Do you want to give us a chapter review of chapters 1 through 5 of ACOTAR, aka the gateway drug of romantasy?
I absolutely do. Thank you very much. So the way I'm going to do this is just summarize the whole 5 chapters all together. So we start by meeting Feyre while she's hunting in the woods. She comes across a deer and a wolf, and we are introduced that the Fae or the fairies could be the villains of the story. They are a known villain to the human race. Feyre takes the doe and wolf pelt home. We meet the Archeron family, so we meet Nesta, Elaine, and their father. We see the infamous dresser, which I'm sure we will talk about later in this episode. Then we go to town. It's an unnamed town. We meet the Children of the Blessed and the mercenary. We learn some more history about Prythian. And then we are back at the Archeron house and we meet a beast who is coming in search of the person that killed the wolf because it was in fact a fairy. Feyre has to go with this beast because she was the one that killed him. We learn about the treaty, a life for a life, and the 5 chapters ends with the beast taking her to Prythian, where she will live out the rest of her days.
I would like to get us started with some details.
Yeah.
Ready to go?
I'm ready.
So the first thing I think
Also,
oh, yes.
This is unscripted. I have
Right,
no idea what she's going to say. She has no idea what I'm going to say.
And hopefully we have a few little surprises for each other.
Mm-hmm.
I love that whenever we talk. Every time we read through, we get more surprises from each other, more stuff we pick up on. Okay, getting started. The first theme that I notice, it's so important, is the hunger and the poverty. Now, being nurses, you and I have had to go through like psych classes, et cetera, and we learn about Maslow's hierarchy of needs in our basic psychology classes. Her basic needs are not met, right? She has minimal shelter. They're lacking ample clothing, so they have minimal clothing. They're eating paycheck to paycheck, if you will. Like, they only eat when Feyre goes out and hunts. And this is played out in later chapters. I think it also is just the basis for where we meet Feyre and how Feyre grows as a character is based on this is the only thing she knows.
I want to add on to that because the idea of hunger, and she is the one who's feeding the family, she's also the least educated. So like if we consider education and that part of our themes, it's definitely a class situation, a class hierarchy, but the person who has the least amount of education is the person that's keeping this family alive.
It also plays into when she goes to the spring court, and this is in later chapters, she gets to eat this food and like she doesn't even want to eat it, because of fairy lore. Don't eat the food, right. Don't dance, you'll just dance all night and you'll die. All these things surrounding it. Her basic needs aren't met, so she doesn't have the opportunity to even think about her education. But then think about later I think it's a Cortimus and Fury when she goes back and meets Nesta and is super offensive because she just kind of sneers or doesn't, she picks whatever she does at the food and doesn't eat it. And Nesta gets super offended, just saying, oh, our food isn't even good enough for you. And then way later, another of this, it's just so long of a theme that spans so many books. Nesta eventually says, sorry, Feyre, you were right. The Fey food is better.
It tastes like
food,
ash.
hunger, poverty lasts so long for the foundation that builds these characters into how strong at least two of them become.
And I think add on to that when nope, I think I'm getting too far.
Do it. Say it.
Well,
Do it.
because she's literally living paycheck to paycheck, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
When she's in the spring court, she says to someone, you don't even know what it's like to not know where your next meal is going to come from. And then when we go to the night court, Cassian is the one who says, I know what it's like to not know where your next meal will be. This is like, oh, I just got shivers. It's like she's finding her people. She's finding someone who not only understands her, but understands where she's coming from. And I think, can you say that this is the first time where, not the first time, but this is where she says, I don't belong here. You guys don't even understand. I don't know where my food is coming from. But again, that's so far, that's not in the first 5 chapters.
Spoiler heavy. We gave him a warning.
Spoiler
It doesn't
heavy.
matter.
Mm-hmm.
You can't stop us.
You won't.
You go.
Okay. One of the things I wanted to bring up, which kind of ties into this, is the sense of duty. Feyre has to do this. She has made a promise to her mother, which I want to bring up later. But also, there's this sense of duty that, maybe not a sense of duty. I get the feeling that Nesta will always protect Elaine. That is her duty. And so it's almost like this, you're going one step, one step, one step. Feyre is protecting the family. Nesta is protecting Elaine. Elaine is just vibing, and their father is doing nothing. Go.
Do you know how you have always said, I don't want to ruin your point, but I can't not talk about it, that all of this is from Feyre's point of view?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know if mom has made other people make promises.
Mm-hmm.
What if mom knows? She sees her children. She sees them. She knows who they are at their core.
Sure.
What if Nesta made a promise to protect Elaine because mom knew somehow, somewhere, some way? I don't know. I don't know how mom would know this. We might get into that at some point in time. What if we never hear or haven't heard yet? Nesta had to promise to protect Elaine because Elaine needed protecting. Feyre doesn't, as evidenced by her being the hunter-gatherer for the family and being able to provide for everyone. Mom saw that. Like, what if we haven't heard that? And that's why Nesta is so protective of Elaine and doesn't have to be protective of Feyre. Oh my God. I just thought of that.
Do you think we will get that in Elaine's book, where Nesta will lash out at her and say, why do you think I always protected you? Because mom made me?
Oh
How good
God.
would that be?
It would be so good. And it would bring such a different light into all these chapters that are just from Feyre's perspective.
Absolutely.
Oh God, that's going to be so good. I can't wait for that. If it happens.
Yeah, if it happens.
I want to talk about page 4.
Talk.
Page 4, we hear about Elaine needed a new cloak. I would just also like to point out there's some other characters in other books, other universes, who also need cloaks. Caltaine in Throne of Glass. So I have to start out by saying, my theory is that Throne of Glass happens. Thousands of years later, ACOTAR happens. Same world. Thousands of years later, Crescent City happens. Caltaine needed a cloak, and the cloak that Aelin gives her is so important. We know because of something else that happens later in that book series that we learn how important the cloak was. Suriels need cloaks also. Are Suriels like some version of Caltaine's offspring? Does Caltaine become a cereal. I don't know. I just feel like there's multiple different characters that need cloaks in SJM's universes.
Is there more than one cereal?
We never find out because the only cereal she ever interacts with is always the same cereal. And I even like went through and I was like, some things are capitalized, some things are not. Like Martax, capitalized. Cereal, capitalized. The bogey is capitalized. There's some other things that are not capitalized. Capitalization usually means name when we're talking about like typing.
Like the title.
Right. Cereal's capitalized. And
Yes,
we
it
never
is.
meet another one.
That
Ever.
we know of.
Yet. I don't know. Those are some thoughts.
I am going to kind of jump around. I want to talk about their father because he is a character we do not learn a lot about, but I feel like this chapter or these chapters reveal a lot about him. And then when we see him later in the series, he is a different character. And for the record, we are both not fans of Papa Archeron. But something that stuck out to me this reread is in comparison to Nesta and Feyre, Elaine looks more like their father, or Feyre thinks. We have this moment where Feyre says, it's on page 11, he was always filling their heads with useless talk that they were going to get their money back. And for the longest time, I've always wondered why she thinks like his eyes are clear. With clear eyes, he's thinking this. I am wondering if he is a mentally broken person who just can't get over this loss. But he also is never helping them. He does not stop when Nesta tries to get engaged to Thomas Mandray. And we learn that his fingers are soft. He doesn't have calluses. And we learned that on page 13. We know that Feyre does. And I would argue that Nesta does because we see her chop wood twice. I don't think Elaine does because Elaine never gets her hands dirty unless she's gardening. And you know what? A lot of times you'll wear gloves when you're gardening. So even then your hands aren't getting dirty.
Oh. I have a couple things to say also about her father. I think I have three things. The first thing is we, as far as I remember, never, ever in all the books learn his name or their mom's name.
I don't think
Never,
we do.
as far as I remember. The second thing is how Nesta feels about her dad. There's page 11, page 12, page 45, all within the first 5 chapters, show this nose turning up disdain for her father. I think all the sisters kind of feel like that except for Elaine. Elaine just is like, But Nesta and Feyre definitely don't like their father. The difference between how they feel about their father now and how Nesta feels about her father in A Court of Wings and Ruin. It feels like there's a little bit of a difference. I'm just wondering how her character arc and her growth affect why she has so much disdain now and like maybe a little less then. And the other thing I want to talk about is a quote that has to do with her father. It's on page 38. The Beast, who we end up learning is a certain character, Tamlin, in the future, he asks her dad, how much money is your daughter's life worth to you? And it has so much meaning in that they don't have any money. So what is he going to do when he's going to try and give Tamlin something or money or something to get his daughter back? A, when he can. So it's an empty promise. And B, there isn't a correct answer for that. And even though we have problems with Tamlin, I love that Tamlin points that out about the dad, that like, that's how you're going to go about this. First of all, you can't even fulfill that promise. And second of all, the way that you phrase that, is that how you view your daughter's life? He could have traded himself. He didn't.
Sure. Well,
a life for a life.
Okay. I'm really glad you said that quote specifically. So I've got 2 points. The first point, is adding on to it. We learned during these first 5 chapters that Feyre was the one who stayed by her father's side when they were losing their money and the creditor came and attacked her father. That's why he has a disability. But she makes a point of thinking when she stands forward to the beast and says, I'm the one who did it, her father fails to even stand up and come to her. Even in this moment where he's begging for her or to help her, he's not standing up for her. It's
literally and figuratively.
Yes. Yes.
Both.
I think I stand behind this and I will die on this hill. He's a POS. Someone in the comments prove me wrong. But the other point I wanted to bring up, and this is, okay, so leaving Papa Archeron, the idea of a life for a life. There is a quote about how the treaty demands payment, demands a life for a life. I think that this quote, these two combined, the treaty demands payment, a life for a life. I think this is foreshadowing that Feyre's going to die.
Oh.
Her life for the wolf's life.
She does.
And she does die.
She does.
Chapters 1 through 5.
I want to talk more about the Fey Treaty. I have so many thoughts and feelings about this treaty. So we've already talked about Feyre's lack of education. Mm-hmm. She's not dumb. She's just had a lack of education, right? It took me like a pause to think about how to phrase that. I want to talk about this treaty. The details, I think, are on page 35, and I'm not going to quote it. But she says, like, basically as a child, she learned about the treaty, but couldn't remember very much of it. I wonder how much of that is because she was really young and just can't remember the details, and also never had any more education. But if that information comes with education and being able to read and write and school and learning about the treaty and the 6 mortal queens that come into play in the future, why do not Nesta and Elaine and her father know any more about this treaty or speak up or have any valid points to say? Throughout the whole rest of the series, we do not, as far as I remember, hear Elaine or Nesta talk any more about the treaty. We hear the Fae talk about the treaty. So what is this lack of education contributing to her not knowing about the treaty? Because it's from Feyre's perspective. We hear so many opinions and the Fae Treaty and the 6 Mortal Queens, the Fae Treaty this, the Fae Treaty that, but like she doesn't really know anything about it.
I think the best way that I can think to compare this is we are all taught about the Declaration of Independence in grade school. When it was signed, where it was, all of these things. But if you were to ask an adult today, tell me 10 things about the Declaration of Independence, how many people could actually tell you that? But when you think about in this situation, the Fae were alive. Many of them were alive when this Fae treaty was signed. We learn that certain characters were fighting in that war, or their parents were fighting in that war, so it makes sense that they would know it. But this has been generation for the humans.
What about the treaty? At some point, Tamlin in the future says something about the limitations of the treaty fall more on the humans, and the Fae are not that limited with what they are and are not allowed to do with the treaty. But I'm really curious, where are the rules about the Fae entering the human lands? Where does this rift in the wall come from? Is it from what we end up hearing about in some future chapters about this thing that's going on in Prythian? Where does the rift come from? And also, are the Fae already violating the treaty by dressing up in wolf form or changing and then going into the wolf territory that's beyond the wall and it's in human lands? Like, we never really hear about if that is a violation of the treaty or not. We kind of get the idea that there's this border. Fae aren't supposed to cross it. Humans aren't supposed to cross it. It's supposed to protect the humans, whatever. But they are regularly being wolves and going into wolf territory.
So I have a theory about this rift. Because when we meet the mercenary, she makes a comment on roughly page 28, where she says, I was working for this noble. He has said that there have been more monsters crossing over the last 50 years. That's not the treaty. That's the blight that we learn about later on. What is the power of the blight over the treaty? What power does the treaty have? And does the blight seem to have more power than the treaty, which allows this rift to form?
That's an interesting thought. What would give the blight more power than the treaty? Is it the person who caused the blight? Is that like this more powerful being?
Or is it the powers that the being has because of how it all happens? Does that mean that the powers of that have been acquired is more powerful than the treaty? If, say, a group of people, maybe 7 of them, were to get... Is the power of the High Lords more powerful than the treaty? Because the High Lords would have had to be the ones that signed it.
I'm just going to throw this out there. If the power of all of the High Lords is more powerful than the treaty, who gets the power of all of the High Lords?
It's so interesting, though. Like, the
So
power
good.
dynamics. But also, she's a human who suddenly becomes more powerful than all of the High Lords because she has the power of all of the High Lords.
Everyone. She has all their powers.
Yes.
I mean, and she's Feyre. She's Feyre.
Yeah.
I mean,
Here's
she
Feyre.
becomes the Feyre. Okay, so you were bringing up the mercenary.
I'm glad
I have so many thoughts. I'm going to be looking at my notes. I'm not just like reading from a script, but my notes. Page 5, we have a traveling peddler who sold Feyre an ash arrow with an iron head. And then at some point, there's a quote, and I can't remember. I will find it because it's in the middle of all of my thick notes. Somebody in the past, a Fae, betrayed the Fae by telling the humans about the Ashwood. We also know that this traveling peddler who sold Feyre the ash arrow was 3 years ago. We also learn about the difference of iron between Throne of Glass and ACOTAR. We also get a description of the mercenary. Is the mercenary the traveling peddler who sold her the ash arrow? We don't know. She doesn't really give a description of that traveling peddler. We get a description. She's age 25 to 30, short dark hair, tan skin, blackish brownish eyes, lots of weapons, a mountain of a woman, which means it sounds like she's large in stature. I would just say there's a TV show that you and I have both watched, and it has a mountain of a woman. That's kind of who I picture, but not really blonde hair and fair skinned. More somebody like, some people are calling it the Fury theory. I don't necessarily know that it's Fury. She also has these scars. Oh, it's on page 43. Is this the same person who betrayed the Fae by telling the humans about the Ashwood? She also says, I'm just rambling here because there's so many thoughts about this mercenary. There is a part where she says somebody paid her more than they had to pay her, or she owes a debt back to the world because somebody did something for her. And then she has the description of the scars. She overpays Feyre. Figure it's time to repay what's due. I want to pay so much attention in all of our future readings and all of the books. Maybe this person isn't even in any of our books yet. Maybe it's going to be in a future book. There's another Crescent City coming. There's more ACOTAR books coming. I want to pay attention to who this person is. Is it the peddler that sold her the ash arrow. And like here's kind of what I'm getting at. In the long game, in the future, Crescent City, in my opinion, takes place thousands of years after ACOTAR. Is there somebody, not necessarily Fury, but possibly Fury? What if Fury's description changes? But who is it? Somebody in the future looks back in time and knows history and says, this girl needs some help. I need to go back in time and help her, because they know their history, right? And we know that that's possible to travel back in time or across universes, because we know Bryce does it and we know Aelin does it. Aelin falls through, Bryce travels back. There are so many seeds that are planted with just this past 5 minutes of me talking about this mercenary that make me want to pay so much attention to everything we read in the future. Who is this person?
Well, you mentioned the scars. And for me, those scars, this is one of my first crossover moments. This is because they're described as spider-like. So roughly on page 29, they are spindly spider-like. We see a similar description in Heir of Fire on page 433, where she's talking, Aelin is talking about Narok, and he has these glittering black veins. And again, in Kingdom of Ash, on page 655, when Dorian is in Morgoth and sees the black veins running up someone, leaking poison into her. That's how it is described by the mercenary. I think if we're going with this time-traveling portal, this person is either from Throne of Glass or has been there, has seen the valve.
There's also a quote on page 29. I was going to say Aelin sees these scars. Aelin does not, Feyre. Feyre sees these scars, and it kind of is described as being like circular. These scars look so similar to a big, huge dash. And then she says something aloud, and it's never addressed again. What does Feyre know, or what has Feyre seen in her past that looks similar to these scars? Also, Martax. WTF is a Martax. We have read 8 plus 5 is 13 plus 3 is 16 books, and I've never heard of a Martax again. Does it go by a different name? Does it look different or similar? Is it described? We don't even really get a good description, except we know it's like a head. Oh, the head maybe looks like a lion. It's as big as a bear. It has 3 rows of teeth. Do we meet any other characters or monsters or beings that match this description? I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but I want us to pay attention to it.
Nothing comes to my mind.
The only thing I thought of that had a lot of teeth is that thing in the bottom of the spiral around library, but we know its name. We learn it. It's not a Martax, but also could just be a different name in a different language.
Should have evolved.
I think it had a lot of teeth, but it's not the size of a bear. It's like huge, like the size of like a big, long, snaky thing that's like multiple building sizes or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Have we just not learned about it yet? Are we going to learn about this Martax in a future book? Because there's more books coming out.
Yes, there are. Something I want to bring up. Is there anything kind of like around the mercenary that you want to bring up?
I have so many notes, and I'm trying to be like not reading my notes verbatim, so I don't think so.
The last thing I want to bring up about the mercenary is on page 26 is when Feyre is giving her the pelt, and I think Feyre says something along the lines of like, I thought this was a fairy, but I don't think it is. And the mercenary says, nope, it doesn't look like a fairy to me. We know she has fought them, but we know that it is a fairy. So why does she say that? Is it important that this person, this mercenary, has almost led Feyre down the wrong path by saying, nope, that's just a regular wolf?
Why would the mercenary do that? If she's trying to help Feyre so much by giving her more money, she is giving her more information than she needs. Why would she mislead her?
Yeah. But she does.
Yeah.
Is it that the
I'm wondering
mercenary
why.
does the mercenary not know? Or is she doing it for another purpose?
Yeah. I would like to say after 5 books that we would find that out, but we don't
We
yet.
don't.
Mm-mm. I don't know about that.
I would like to talk about some foreshadowing we get in these 5 chapters, because we get a lot. We are introduced to the children of the blessed. The name Claire Bedor is thrown around once.
Mm-hmm. I have that too.
And I have a theory that we see Rhysand's presence, although we do not see him.
Say
I'll
more.
tell you more. So, on page 2, there's a referral to strange folk, tall and eerie and deadly. I think it might be a stretch to say that that's Rhysand. I don't know that he would cross into the human worlds. But if I was going to describe Rhysand, those would be ways I describe him. But when Nesta is arguing with the children of the blessed, we see a shadow flicker in the eyes of the children of the blessed. That is on page 22. We know that Rhysand has power over shadows. We know that he has the Diamante power and can control people and get into their brains. But then on page 27, this is my favorite quote of the 5 chapters. There was one High Lord who could turn your bones to dust from 100 yards away. Of all of the things for Feyre to remember, of all of the things for her to specifically say, she's not saying anything about the spring court. She's not saying anything about the summer court. Our boo is talking about the night court High Lord. It's so good.
Oh, it's so good. So, thoughts. Why is he hanging around in unnamed city in human lands? Why?
I think it's to do Amarantha's bidding. I think it is to make sure that a human does not kill a fae. What if the mercenary told Feyre, nope, this isn't a fairy, as a way to like lead her away, be like, nope, you're fine, because like the fairies are looking for her because she killed the wolf, which is a fairy.
Is she, but the mercenary, is she trying to protect Feyre from having to do the life for life thing? Or is this a person of Amarantha's who is trying to make sure that Amarantha's bidding gets done because no one knows that a human killed a fairy in anger?
But
which one?
It wouldn't matter if they knew or not, because the treaty is the power that makes the decision. On page 37, it is said that Prythian must claim your life in some way for the life you took from it. So the treaty is the one that makes this decision. I just feel like this is a rabbit hole of, is the mercenary good? Is the mercenary bad? Are these people that are crossing over agents of Amarantha? And we know that Rhysand is one of her agents because he had to be. He had to be the villain to save his people. Mm-hmm. There's so much to unpack. And we're like 50 pages in.
Oh, man. Speaking of foreshadowing that we were talking about a little earlier.
Mm-hmm. I hope you're going right.
There is a section where Feyre refuses iron cuffs at some point in time. And I'm just like, oh, it's on page 27. She refuses it, and I just have to think, was that some kind of foreshadowing also, that she refuses something that in her mind, whether it's correct or incorrect, would ward off Fae kind? Like, is it fate?
Sure. Maybe. It's interesting that everyone else in the village seems to have iron, and Feyre is the one who's like, no, I don't need that. It's not going to do any good. But then when the beast comes into her house, all she can think is, if only I had any iron. Gods, even just a iron nail would be better than nothing.
Well, would it?
Well, doesn't help her.
I mean, it wouldn't. I wanted to talk about the children of the blessed more, since we had just discussed it.
Oh,
sorry.
Sure. Nope.
Before we move on to a different topic.
Mm-hmm.
Page 22 and page 23, page 24, we start talking about the children of the blessed. There's a part where it's like pale robes. Further on, we learn they are pale blue robes. We also hear about silver bells in our Google Doc that we are building for Encyclopedia, talking about silver and bells. I don't recall hearing a lot about bells, but I'd like to pay attention to it in the future. I'd like to pay attention to silver, obviously iron, ash, all those things that we're keeping track of. But the silver bells are mentioned. So when we talk about Ianthe in the future, we know pale blue robes. We know silver, her diadem or tiara, whatever you call it. Also, the children of the blessed send offerings across the border, as in they give the Fae humans and they don't return. That happens on page 23. Yeah. Why don't they return? First of all, what is happening to these humans? Second of all, is Ianthe finding them? Because is there some kind of deal? I feel like there would be something in Accordamist and Fury that would kind of clarify this. So when I read it, I'm going to pay more attention. But what happens to them? Also, is this a violation of the treaty, sending humans over the wall as offerings? Like, what is an offering? It sounds like something you're going to kill for a god or something. Like, what's going on there? Please talk about your pen.
I think we do know what happens to them, because in book 3, when Feyre and Lucian are with the 2 twins that have the Diamante power from Highburn, there's children of the blessed that come through, and the 2 bad guys are like, oh, this is great, we love when this happens, and they basically send him out to be killed by all the monsters in the woods, right? I think what happens
to what end? But why?
I think this is one of those, like, the cults that will kill themselves because the aliens are coming down and they're going up to God. I think it's this belief that they're living a better life. They're going to somewhere better, but in fact, they're just dying. Because they never get seen again.
They're just idiots.
Yeah. Also, I just want to go back really quickly. We do find out that Rhys has gone to the human lands because he's the one who goes and gets Claire, I think.
Claire Bador?
Mm-hmm.
I know something bad happens to her because Feyre, like, mentions her name to, like, not say herself or something. I only know it because I've heard you talk about it. It's not ever something I remembered. I'm just going to defer to you. Can you, like, explain a little bit more about this? Because I remember that you remember this when we've talked about it in past rereads, and I don't remember very much about it. But, like, why does Rhys go get her? Rhys doesn't like to kill humans, right?
Right. But if I recall correctly, she gives Rhys Claire's name because she doesn't want to give her name to him. And he is bound or tells Amarantha the name. And Amarantha says, bring me the Claire Bador. So Rhys goes to get Claire Bador and brings her to Amarantha, but he realizes immediately that that is not the same person that told him that that's who she was. So we know that he goes and gets her in the human lands. So he's gone at least once.
Oh, I bet that killed him. I bet it just broke him so much. I mean, he's already broken. We know. But, like, I bet that really destroyed him to have to do that. But what else can he do?
Right. He can't do anything else. I would like to talk about the dresser.
I am so excited about this. I'm going to change positions.
Are you ready to move on to the dresser? Is there anything else you want to add on?
I'm ready to move on to the dresser.
I love it. Here's my theory. And this is going to kind of do a couple of things at the same time. So one of the things I want to pay attention to on this podcast is the usage of symbolism. And so the sagging dresser, we find it on 15. This is in chapter 2, where Elaine's drawer is the one that has roses and violets. We have Nesta's that has the fire, and Feyre's has the night sky. Okay, you got to play with me here. So my theory is that Tamlin and Elaine are endgame, because Tamlin's court is the spring court, and there's roses, and one of the first smells she has, or scents she has when she goes there, is the smell of roses. Roses symbolize love and beauty. We know this. We've all seen Beauty and the Beast. But violets, if I'm going to describe 3 things for Elaine: love, grief, and transformation. That is what violets symbolize. That is essentially what happens
Wait,
to
could
her.
you repeat that?
Violets symbolize love, grief, and transformation. We, in Silver Flames, she's grieving the loss of her fiancé. She is transformed in the 3rd book. And it is also a flower of Hades and Persephone. When Persephone goes to the underworld, violets come to where she was standing. What is your pin?
I know how much you love
It's my
a
favorite.
Hades and Persephone. I know how much you love it. I know it is your kick for literature. I also think it's important to talk about the very title of the very first book of this entire series, A Court of Thorns and Roses. We end up realizing like Feyre is the thorns. Tamlin in the Spring Court are the roses. This is the first book of the series, right? Like that has to mean something. And I think Endgame, I think the last book of ACOTAR is going to be Elaine with her precog, if you will. And I think you're right. I think there's some redemption arc for Tamlin, as you and I have talked about it over the years. I think that is why it is so important that the title of the very first book of the entire series has to do with roses. I think it has to do with Tamlin and maybe bringing out the best of Elaine, 2 characters that I absolutely dislike. I dislike both of them, but like there's got to be some kind of redemption arc where in years when we finally get to Endgame, last book of ACOTAR, and I'm going to be like, I eat my words from 2025. I don't hate them. But Roses is in the title. That's the first place that Feyre goes. And the entire first several books are from Feyre's perspective. So we have this negative connotation with Tamlin, but I think he's going to be a big deal. And I think Endgame, Elaine's precog, is what fixes everything. I won't go into, I've already talked about it with you so many times before, how I think there's going to be 2 more books and 1 more novella, and who I think is going to be about what, and who gets paired up with who, and how different people are Endgame. But I think one of those theories is definitely Elaine with Tamlin, and the roses play such a big part, aka Tamlin saves Elaine, Elaine saves Tamlin, and I think she, in the very last book, is the person that is gonna save everything with her seeing. That's just long game. Really went off on a tangent there, sorry.
It's okay. Here's one of my theories. I think the dresser also represents their traumas. So when we look... So, the night sky, whirls of yellow stars standing in for white. When we first see the wolf in chapter 1, he has yellow teeth and golden yellow eyes. This is the thing that starts all of Feyre's trauma, right? When we see the crackling fire for Nesta's drawer, the cracks of the flames reminds her of her father's neck breaking, and she flinches every time she's around fire. I think that the dresser drawers symbolize not only their futures, but also their trauma that they have to work their way through. And if we consider the violets and roses for Elaine, she is having to deal with the transformation, both from human into fae, but also the transformation of being a seer and having the grief of seeing all of these things that are going to happen in the future.
Oh man, that's heavy.
I trust
Girl, that
SJM
is
to
heavy.
do it. But it's good, right?
She'll do it. She'll do it.
I trust her.
Oh, that is so heavy. That's so deep.
It's really deep, and it's one of those things where I'm like, am I Charlie Day with the red string on the board? Is that what I've just done?
My favorite meme in the entire world. My favorite meme ever. Yes. Let's do more red yarn.
But like, it tracks.
It really does. We know SJM will go that deep. For instance, I'm just going to take it back a second. Foxglove. How many times do we have foxglove?
Yes.
Also associated with like word marks. There's word marks. Are they WARD? Are they WYRD? Are they in our modern language as regular humans on Earth, WORD? Are they word marks? Are they letters? Are they spells? Are we casting spells? But like the foxglove flowers, right? Like she goes so deep. I think it's Celtic mythology. Kat, I'm pretty sure with your
I think it
medieval
is.
degrees, you would be able to correct me if I'm wrong because you know better than I do. Foxglove is considered like fairies can fly because like foxglove is like a trumpet plant, right? Like it's boop and comes down. Fairies can fly up into it and it's considered protective. And we have multiple references in just the first 5 chapters of her painting foxglove on things. And we also have multiple references, well, one reference, sorry, of the word marks. So like, what about all of this is very protective from fairy, protective for fairy? Word marks, are they spells? I guess to circle back around is like the foxglove plants show that she does her research on these plants. So like, why wouldn't that make sense for what you were just saying about Elaine?
Right. And we see, so we've got foxgloves, roses, violets, and daffodils. Those are the main flowers mentioned here. And daffodils are also related to Hades' Persephone. I don't think it is coincidence. Daffodils are the flowers that Hades used to seduce Persephone. So
And we
I think
love
that's,
that.
I also want to throw out, since you mentioned the word marks, that happens in chapter 2 when Feyre comes home, kicks the snow off of her boots, and sees the swirls and whirls, which
Yeah.
SJM uses to describe the word marks in the Throne of Glass series. I'm just going to pull it out here. It's in Throne of Glass on page 184. Countless word marks were etched into their surface. They were swirls and whirls in lines and squares. I think this lends to your theory of Throne of Glass, then ACOTAR, then Crescent City, because if we believe that the swirls and whirls, the word marks of Throne of Glass would have protected the humans against the Fae, in Throne of Glass it would have. But if the Fae have evolved, they might have evolved outside of the word marks.
And we know
So
they
this-
have evolved because of the iron.
Yes. And we know that because iron doesn't stop them, but it does stop the Fae of Throne of Glass. And we know that this traveling person did this. So what does it mean? What does any of it mean?
Oh man, can I just tie that back real quick? Remember how I was talking about there's the traveling peddler, and we have where I think it's Feyre that says it about how somebody violated the Fae code of conduct and like told humans about the Ashwood. We also hear again, we'll go into it next week when we get to chapters 6 through 10, about somebody violating the Fae by sharing one of their secrets. Is this traveling peddler that carved the whirls and swirls into their door also one of the same team of the people that's the mercenary that comes and sells her the pelts and like sells her the Ashwood arrow? Like, is this part of the same crew?
Do you think it's like a team of people?
I can't imagine that it's one person because there's also that part where somebody robs Elaine and she's like, oh, a mercenary came and robbed me, but we only had a few coins. That doesn't sound like a team of people that are ready to protect Feyre and her family. But like, what if that was just a one-off? Kind of a red herring, if you will, to throw us off the scent
Sure.
of the fact that there is a team of mercenaries, possibly led from people of the future because they know the past. Is it a team? We know it's possible to go back in time. Bryce says it. So these people keep coming and protecting Feyre and her family and are giving her more money than she needs. Like, who are these people? Are we going to ever meet them? Go.
But we also know Sarah J Maas loves teams. She's got the cadre in Throne
The
of
cadre,
Glass, the inner
fam.
circle, the inner circle in ACOTAR, and then we also have like Rune and his buddies, their own little like, I can't remember what I'm sure they call themselves something. I'm here for them, but
I know. Ugh.
we'll get there.
She loves
Not
a good
fast
team.
enough. She loves a good team.
what if we end up learning at some point in time in the future about this team of people that we're learning about in chapters 1 through 5 of ACOTAR?
My head would explode.
I hope it happens.
Do you have it? I've got so many theories from just these first few chapters.
I do also want to talk about how I think it comes up more in the future chapters, and I'm going to talk about it more in future chapters, but I want to allude to it right now.
Okay.
And that is, she can't remember very much about the treaty, right? And we hear a hint of like this treaty where the Fae have to stay north of the wall and they can't go south, but like also we're not really sure because there's not that many rules for the Fae. It's made more popular, or it's made more known in future chapters, but we do currently see here a wolf in the human lands that is a fairy. So we know that they are going past the wall, and we end up finding more about that. And I just want to say, like, Tamlin the beast talks about the treaty, and he says, you know, this is the rules of the treaty, etc., etc. He doesn't give her very many details. He just says a life for a life. He also doesn't explain to her why he's taking her back, because is he actually taking her back to fulfill the treaty? Or is he taking her back to fulfill the Beauty and the Beast, also known as Fight Club rules? In Beauty and the Beast, you can't tell Beauty about the Beast, right? In Fight Club, you can't talk about Fight Club. He is taking her back, and they have crossed the wall, not because of the treaty, because of Beauty and the Beast rules. So we like have a little bit of an overlap of like, he kind of makes it very confusing. He's blaming the treaty, but he's really taking her back, and they've crossed the wall because of Beauty and the Beast, aka Fight Club.
Well, and
it's very confusing, and they muddy the water, I feel like.
Well, and I think he muddies it even more when he says, Prythian must claim your life in some way. She doesn't get any choice in this, and that's from the treaty. So the treaty is what's making him take her, but we also know that it is because of the blight, because this is what, so when she kills the wolf in chapter 1, she feels the earth shudder. And to me, that is magic booming out. Think like Once Upon a Time when Emma Swan crosses into Storybrooke. I don't know if you've seen it. Like, there is a shudder of magic because she's starting to break the curse. Is that the same thing when Feyre shoots the wolf? Now we've got a time clock going because we've only got 50 years. And she's already done it. She's shot the wolf.
I feel like we never get a clear explanation of what happens. Is everything Beauty and the Beast? Is everything the treaty? Is there an overlap? It's never defined.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on
why things happen. Because I would like to keep an eye on it, because I don't feel like I have a very clear explanation. Looking forward as my third read of this, I don't know. Does this happen because of Beauty and the Beast, or does it happen because of the Fae Treaty? Do they overlap? I'm going to have to pay more attention to that, because I feel like they're two different things, but the author is using one or the other or both. I don't really know.
Yeah.
Do you?
No. We're going to have to keep an eye on like the treaty and when it's mentioned and why things happen. I
wrote something down here. Oh, no. Go ahead.
I'll say I have one more thing that I just wanted to bring up as something to observe.
I have three
things. Okay.
So go ahead. Hopefully you're going to talk about the one that I'm going to talk about. So talk about that, because I think it's one of them.
Nope, it's not. I have a theory that one of the reasons we are introduced to the Archeron family the way we are in this part of the book is what we are seeing with Nesta and Elaine is how they will be as Fae. Nesta is a fighter, We see her getting ready to fight the Children of the Blessed. We see her going out and begrudgingly chop the wood. We see her always protecting her sister, which is what the Valkyries do. They are protectors. We also see Elaine doing nothing. At one point, Feyre thinks it's not that she was cruel, it's not that she was mean, it just never occurred to her to do something. I think we see the same thing, only exaggerated when they become Fae. And it makes me even more curious how Elaine will be as a Fae, like in her own book.
I think this is why we hate Elaine so much. She's just, I almost said that. She's just effing useless. I hated her less in my last reread. And remember, I sent a text message when I was like, I think I hate her less this reread. But now I'm really distanced from that, and I just remember how much I hated her. She's just worthless. She's so useless. And like, some could say the same about Nesta, and we got Nesta's redemption arc. But I always liked Nesta from the beginning anyway, because I very personally identify with her, that she's just like kind of negative, kind of nasty, kind of doesn't like to talk to people, and she's just kind of like, But this useless Elaine, just like, why even? You're not even trying. Like, can you not just lay there like a slug and just do something? And like, at least Nesta is like a little bit spicy and she has a reason to be negative. Elaine has no reason to be the way she is.
Well, and I think part of it also is we get this feeling that Feyre hates Nesta. Nesta is her villain. Nesta is kind of the person who is the nasty voice in her head. Nesta is the one who always snaps at her. But she herself describes her and Nesta as two sides of the same coin. There are not three sides to a coin. Elaine is the different one. Elaine is like their father. Elaine has different powers. I think it's just really interesting to observe them here as human. And then when we see them as Fae, which we get to do in a book.
Elaine acts helpless. And I, as a person who I'm an ER nurse, right? Like, I'm proactive. I do things. Elaine is helpless. And I cannot connect with a chosen helpless character. She doesn't have to be helpless. She could do something, but she chooses to be helpless, and I hate her for it. Do something. Be proactive. Do something for yourself. I hate her. And I know I said I read the last time and I hated her less, but I don't remember that now. I just remember that I said it, but I don't remember the feeling that I had, and I still hate her.
But also, you want her to do something? She's the one that kills Hybern. She does do something. Which we'll get to. All right, go to your points.
The last three things I have to say, I will make them quick. First of all, page 22. Can we just say there's a character named Nesta, and she does not have a throne, but she is thought of as a queen, but doesn't have a throne.
And is that maybe foreshadowing?
I know you have told me about this before, and I think it's in another book. It's not this book, right?
Yeah, it's in Frost and Starlight. Feyre thinks the exact same thing then.
See, people think that you shouldn't read the novellas. Sometimes the novellas make sense. And Kat, you know the series I'm thinking of where the novella actually did make sense.
Yep, where I didn't read it.
And that one made it. Yeah. Second thing of my three, the white mare on page 42. We also see it again in future chapters. I remember seeing a white mare. What I would like to pay attention to and put in our Google Doc where we're making our encyclopedia, do we see a white mare in other books? Does Aelin ever ride a white mare? Does Bryce ever... I don't think Bryce ever rides a horse. They're like too modern. But like, are there other white mares? Are the Pegasus white?
I don't know.
But it wouldn't be a mare. It would be a Pegasus.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean,
We'll have to keep
it's
an
still
eye.
a horse. Maybe. And then the third thing, this is something that I don't ever remember reading because I don't remember all the details. There is a page 39 where somebody says now, now, now. It's repeated 3 times. And at another place, a character says now, now. And it seems like a very specific choice of a single word, repetitive. I just want to pay attention to that quote and that sense of urgency. Does that ever come about again, more in ACOTAR versus the first 2 times that I remember reading it? Does it come about in Throne of Glass? Does it come about in Crescent City? Is this an author tool that is very specific to SJM, where she says, now, 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 or now, or now? When do we hear her characters use the word now? Like when we get into Crescent City, does Lahaba ever say now to Bryce? Oh my God, you have a pen. Please say more.
It's not the word now, but there is a character that says live, Manon, live. Spoiler. But like,
okay,
it's the
I
same
know
thing.
I always say Nesta is my favorite character, but do you remember who I dressed up as last year for Halloween for our one person's wedding party that happened near Halloween? It was Manon. I dressed up as Manon. How do I choose between Manon and Nesta? Can I say they're both my favorite? Can you have 2 favorites?
You've got 2 hands, 2 favorites.
Manon, Nesta.
But it's the same thing, right? Like now, now, live, live.
Urgency, urgency, urgency. So maybe I won't just pay attention in the future to the words now, now, now. Maybe
Just
I
repeated
start
words.
focusing on repetitive words, not like, hey, we have to go right now, we have to run, but like a repetitive word that has to do with urgency, like live, live, now, now. Like I want to start paying attention to that.
Or when Feyre's mother says, stay together, look after them, and the Suriel says, stay with the High Lord. Stay, stay.
How did we not put that in? Oh, that's because it's next chapters. That's why we didn't put it in our notes yet. Oh my God, I can't wait to get into that. I was just thinking like, how did I not bring that up? That's because it's not these chapters.
I only brought it
you
up
are
because
right.
you mentioned it.
We are going to talk about it next time.
I was going to say, so does that, anything else you want to bring up before we finish up the episode?
No, I don't have anything else. That's done.
Awesome. So I guess that means next week we're going to be reading chapters 6 through 10 of ACOTAR, and we are entering the Spring Court. If you liked this episode, please like and subscribe below or wherever you get your podcasts. We can be found on Instagram at SJ Masterclass or by email at sjmaasterclass@gmail.com. And we want to hear from you. What did you think of our first episode? What are your thoughts on anything and everything we've said? Let us know in the comments below. And Rev, I think now would be a great time to go grab a margarita. You want to go meet in about 15 minutes?
And maybe we can edit our episode. I'll see you in 15.
See you in 15. Bye.
Bye.